Generally, how do you decide what development happens on cars?
There we go.
Do you test a failure?
There's a couple different questions here. Yeah.
Do you test a failure? Love okay for?
I think it leave. Probably look for headroom. Or
Well, we do put a lot of love into our products.
We do.
Just making sure.
love and care.
Leave room for headroom. What platforms have surprised you the most? A lot of questions there. As far as what development happens on cars, we have some pretty standardized development processes and tactics that we use on every new product we develop. We have to decide how much testing is needed. We don't always test a failure, although we do test in a way that could cause failure. And if it doesn't, we test for long enough to know that the lack of failure is a reliable place to be. Yeah. It would be nice to be able to always do destructive testing.
Yeah, destructive testing is hard too. Well,
it's
obviously hard. It's expensive, that's one thing, but when you get to that point of destruction, you got to make sure all of your variables are contained and you know why something failed. There's certainly some outliers that can send you down a very wrong path and give you a false sense of understanding of the situation. So, it's a long and evolving process with everything.
Yeah, but if we test a tune on a motor and we have thousands of hours without failure, we don't need to test that to failure.
Yeah, we're not going to drive a stage 1 file, for example, to failure on every situation or anything like that.
But in some cases, we have tested in-house cars to failure, and it was not intentional, but it was a very valuable data point that we were able to gain a lot of insight on. It's kind of like, I don't know, in the 1800s, like nobody wanted anyone to die, but if somebody died, they just cut them open and started looking around inside.
What's going on in there?
Just to learn, So, what were some of the other questions?
It's gone now. How much headroom do we leave? Or how do we leave headroom?
The headroom is somewhat determined by, say, the fuel system capacity, and on these motors, we need to stay within the fuel system capacity. Once we are, and the engine operates reliably for as long as we determine it needs to, then that's enough headroom.
That's certainly one of the metrics. It's going to be dependent on what octane fuel it's being designed for. We obviously don't run to the ragged edge of what we can for every last half a degree of timing. We got to leave some buffer in there because fuel qualities and engines and every engine operates a little bit differently.
And we also collect data that you guys don't see, like EGTs and exhaust manifold pressure. Data that informs us that the engine is operating in a safe way, because the result of combustion is not only the air-fuel ratio that comes out, but heat that's generated, and there are acceptable heat levels. There are acceptable exhaust manifold pressure levels, and there's air-fuel ratios as well. And all this can be correlated to the safety and health of the engine. But ultimately, we do as much testing as we need to feel comfortable that this is a reliable tune. We do it in different testing conditions with different drivers, on track, on the streets, high elevation, low elevation, cool weather, hot weather.
We try and cover all our bases.
Yeah, most of our tunes, have been to Death Valley, the drive out to Las Vegas. We have Tahoe here, which is 7,000-8,000 feet. So, within a couple hours, you can be over a mile high from sea level. So we're in a great spot to do this kind of testing and tuning, and we're in the most strict regulatory environment in the U.S., which has only made us better. Great question.